Good morning. My name is Billy Davidson, and my pronouns are he, him. I serve as co-chair of your board of trustees. I'm a middle-aged white male with long brownish hair in a ponytail and graying facial hair. I'm wearing glasses and a Protect Trans Youth t-shirt. Thank you for joining us both in person and online. Please take a minute to silence your cell phones. You may have noticed that speakers during worship are providing a brief visual description of themselves, as I just did. Doing this increases our inclusivity and welcome for people who live with visual impairments and for those who are listening online instead of watching. Please use the QR code on the screen to let us know you're here and to find a virtual order of service as well as information about giving. If you're visiting for the first time this morning, then welcome. We invite you to gather here in front of the candle table after the service to learn more about us and receive a small welcome gift. Also after the service, anyone can join me or another board member to chat about the many things happening at the church. We have a few announcements to share this morning. Volunteers for the Community Day of Service at Church for All People on Parsons should check in at the sign in Beach Hall after the service. Next Sunday, there will be a debriefing to discuss our experiences. The transition team invites you to participate in an interactive story project. Come to Beach Hall and find the story tree and listening heart. Write the beginning of your story on a card, sign your name, and swap stories with another person. Place your cards on the tree or heart together. And now please rise in body or in spirit to sing our opening hymn, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place.
When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we trust the wisdom in each of us, every color, every creed and kind, and we see our faces in each other's eyes, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we tell our story from deep inside, and we listen with a loving mind, and we hear our voices in each other's words, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we share the silence of sacred space, and the God of our heart stirs within, and we feel the power of each other's faith, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place.
Good morning. I'm the Reverend Dr. Teresa Cooley. I serve as your developmental minister. I'm a medium-height woman in my early 60s with very short silver hair and glasses and purple stole and blouse. We begin this service by acknowledging that we gather on land stolen from the Wyandot, Miami, Seneca, Erie, Shawnee, Delaware, and Cayuga people, many of whom were forcibly removed from Ohio. We support the Native American Indian Center of Central Ohio in their Land Back NACO campaign, and we know that we have more to do as a community to be in solidarity and true relationship with this land and those indigenous to it. Those of you who listen closely might have noticed that we're saying different tribal names now. We passed this acknowledgement before NACO and asked them if we were doing it appropriately. And in fact, we were naming tribes that were renamed by white settlers. So we switched that up and are acknowledging some that we had missed before. It's just a part of our wanting to be accountable to our partners. So let us enter into the spirit of worship with these opening words by Carol Sissel. We are one, we are family, we are connected by blood and bone, mind and heart, and sometimes bricks and mortar. Like the finest woven tapestries of old and the spices blended and stirred into our family's secret recipes, our lives are intentionally intertwined. And we are made, no, we are fashioned into a stronger community by those connections. This interlacing, intertwining, intermingling of our existence makes each of us whole, happiness and sorrow, blessings and burdens, lament and laughter. May we allow the magic and the mystery, often named Spirit, to keep us connected long after today's service has ended. Come, let us worship together this morning. So let us all rise in body or in spirit while our children meet in the back to prepare to bring in the light. Please turn to your neighbors to introduce yourselves. Let's come back. We light our chalice with these words from Hope Johnson. We are one, a diverse group of proudly kindred spirits, here not by coincidence, but because we choose to journey together. In this spirit, we light our chalice.
Thank you, Junie, for your help lighting our chalice this morning. You did an excellent job. Good morning, everyone. I am Minister Shannon High, your coordinator of multicultural engagement. I am a Black woman with light brown skin. I'm in my early 50s with, I didn't want to be too specific. With a shaved head and black framed glasses. Today, Reverend Teresa and I will be reading a story called The Day the Crayons Quit, written by Drew Daywalt and illustrated by Oliver Jeffers.
One day in class, Duncan went to take out his crayons and found a stack of letters with his name on them.
Hey, Duncan, it's me, Red Crayon. We need to talk. You make me work harder than any of your other crayons. All year long, I wear myself out coloring fire engines, apples, strawberries, and everything else that's red. I even work on holidays. I have to color all the Santas at Christmas, and there are so many Santas. All the hearts on Valentine's Day. I need a rest. Your overworked friend, Red Crayon.
Dear Duncan, all right, listen. I love that I'm your favorite crayon for grapes, dragons, and wizards' hats, but it makes me crazy that so much of my gorgeous color goes outside of the lines. If you don't start coloring inside the lines soon, I'm gonna completely lose it. Your very neat friend, Purple Crayon.
Dear Duncan, I'm tired of being called light brown or dark tan because I am neither. I am beige and I am proud. I'm also tired of being second place to Mr. Brown Crayon. It's not fair that Brown gets all the bears, the ponies, and puppies, while the only things I get are turkey dinners, if I'm lucky. And wheat. And let's be honest, when was the last time you saw a kid excited about coloring wheat? Your beige friend, Beige Crayon.
Duncan, Gray Crayon here. You are killing me. I know you love elephants, and I know that elephants are gray, but that's a lot of space to color in all by myself. And don't even get me started on your rhinos, hippos, and humpback whales. You know how tired I am after handling one of those things? Such big animals. Baby penguins are great, you know. So are very tiny rocks. Pebbles, how about one of those once in a while to give me a break? Your very tired friend, Gray Crayon.
Very understood, Gray Crayon. Dearest Duncan, you color with me, but why? Most of the time, I'm the same color as the page you are using me on. White. If I didn't have a black outline, you wouldn't even know I was there. I'm not even in the rainbow. I'm only used to color snow or to fill an empty space between other things, and it leaves me feeling, well, empty. We need to talk. Your empty friend, White Crayon.
Hi, Duncan. I hate being used to draw the outline of things that are colored in by other colors, all of which think that they are brighter than me. It's not fair when you use me to draw a nice beach ball and then fill in the colors of the ball with all the other crayons. How about a black beach ball sometimes? Is that too much to ask? Your friend, Black Crayon.
Dear Duncan, As green crayon, I'm writing for 2 reasons. One is to say that I like my work. Loads of crocodiles, trees, dinosaurs, and frogs. I have no problems and wish to congratulate you on a very successful coloring things green career so far. The second reason I write is for my friends Yellow Crayon and Orange Crayon, who are no longer speaking to each other. Both crayons feel they should be the color of the sun. Please settle this soon because they're driving the rest of us crazy. Your happy friend, Green Crayon.
Dear Duncan, Yellow Crayon here. I need you to tell Orange Crayon I am the color of the sun. I would tell him, but we're no longer speaking. And I can prove I'm the color of the sun, too. Last Tuesday, you used me to color in the sun on your Happy Farm coloring book. In case you've forgotten, it's on page 7. You can't miss me. I'm shining down brilliantly on a field of yellow corn. Your pal in the true color of the sun, Yellow Crayon.
Dear Duncan, I see Yellow Crayon already talked to you, the big whiner. Anyway, could you please tell Mr. Tattletale that he is not the color of the sun? I would, but we're no longer speaking. We both know I am clearly the color of the sun because on Thursday, you used me to color the sun on both the Monkey Island and the Meet the Zookeeper pages in your Day at the Zoo coloring book. Orange, you glad I'm here? Your pal and the real color of the sun, Orange Crayon.
Dear Duncan, it has been great being your favorite color this past year, and the year before, and the year before that. I've really enjoyed all those oceans, lakes, rivers, raindrops, rain clouds, and clear skies. But the bad news is I am now so short and stubby, I can't even see over the railing in the crayon box anymore. I need a break. Your very stubby friend, Blue Crayon.
Yikes. Okay, listen here, kid. You have not used me once in the past year. It's because you think I am a girl's color, isn't it? Speaking of which, please tell your little sister I said thank you for using me to color in her Little Princess coloring book. I think she did a fabulous job of staying inside the lines. Now back to us. Could you please use me some time to color the occasional pink dinosaur or monster or cowboy? Goodness knows they could use a splash of color. Your unused friend, Pink Crayon.
Hey Duncan, it's me, Peach Crayon. Why did you peel off my paper wrapping? Now I'm naked and too embarrassed to leave the crayon box. I don't even have any underwear. How would you like to go to school naked? I need some clothes. Help your naked friend, Peach Crayon.
Wow. Well, poor Duncan just wanted to color. And of course he wanted his crayons to be happy, and that gave him an idea.
When Duncan showed his teacher his new picture, she gave him an A for coloring.
And an A+ for creativity.
The end. Duncan had to be inventive and responsive to support all of the crayons and meet them where they are. So today we ask you to challenge assumptions that we may take for granted and to consider the diverse and varied tapestry of needs we experience in both our community and the larger world. Now, with our hands held over our hearts, let us sing our young people back to their families and out to class. In the month of April, we are sharing our donations with Connecting Community Corridors for Pollinators, People, and the Planet, or CCC for PPP. This corridor is made of the yards and container gardens of 40 families in Linden who received donated native plants to support specialist pollinators and birds. The corridor is coordinated by First UU member Diane Koronanga with OSU and Simply Living as partners. So please use the QR code on your order of service, text the number on the screen, go to our website, and click the Donate tab to share as you feel called. Your gifts help build a better church and a better world. Thank you. Our offering will now be gratefully received. And now Susan Huchin is going to deliver Words from the Heart.
Before I start, let me say thank you for the story this morning. The adults in the congregation enjoy the stories just as much as the children. And to my friends, I usually sit in the back. If you sit in the front, as I did today, you get to watch the children, and they enjoyed that story greatly too. So, good morning. My name is Susan, and I use the pronoun she, her. I'm a senior woman, tall with short gray hair, and today I'm wearing a red top. I started coming to First UU last fall because I live alone in the suburbs and wanted to find more community. I moved to the Columbus area a few years ago when my first grandchild was born, but despite liking Columbus a lot, I never really found my people, and I am actively looking again. I knew that I didn't want a heavily religious experience, so I was wary of looking for community in a church. My past church experiences have been in patriarchal, or what I refer to as top-down churches, and I was put off by that. In my last church experience, the congregation talked a lot about how to be more welcoming to newcomers in order to get more people to come to church. I remember that people didn't really know what to do, but we were encouraged by the leadership to talk to anyone that we recognized as new. Because of that memory, I was looking for how friendly this church would be, especially because I was looking for what was more community. I was struck in my earliest visits to First UU how someone spoke to me every week, and it was a different person or two each time. I was very impressed by how welcomed I felt. I also was curious about how the Christmas holidays would be celebrated at First UU, so throughout the weeks before Christmas, I watched closely to see what the ritual and experience would be. I remember that each week an Advent calendar was lit, just as in a traditional Christian church. But in addition to that, the candle lighters also lit one of the candles in a menorah. As I was not interested in a heavily Christian experience, I liked the observance of other rituals and traditions. I was also interested in the fact that the chalice and candle lighter is always a child. Through my working years, you'll know how old I am by the fact that I'm reading from paper rather than an electronic device. We can identify with that, right? I worked for youth advocacy organizations, so I watched closely how groups behave toward children. I have noticed that at First UU, children are very much a part of the service. I have never before attended a church where children are engaged through a story that has a message for everyone. And any church that grows its congregation by adding young families with children is sure to survive. I am quite liberal and didn't realize there was a church like this before, where I would find other people like me. Maybe I would have attended sooner had I known. In December, I attended the Pathways to Membership class and learned more about the church's structure and history. It seemed a good fit for me, and so I made a commitment and joined as a member. I have always felt very welcome here and want to see this congregation survive. When I was asked to tell you my story, I said yes. If any of you, like me, came out of curiosity and stayed because of the welcoming environment, please consider making a commitment too. For those of you who have been here for a long time, thank you for welcoming me to join you. The church is in the midst of its annual pledge campaign. It is due to your donations that we are able to fund this space, pay our dedicated staff, and support each other. We ask everyone to consider increasing their pledge to fund this community, but we understand everyone's situation is different. You can drop your pledge form in a donation basket or at the table in the gallery. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. We're glad you have joined us. We have some celebrations as well as some concerns in our community to share with you this morning. This past Friday, April 24th, Guy and Betsy Smalley celebrated their 21st wedding anniversary. They were married here at First UU Church by Reverend Wendy Fish. Congratulations. We offer our love and care to Doris Cornell, who developed a severe respiratory infection while visiting friends and family in California. She was hospitalized in Mexico and almost died. We are glad she is recovering. We send our love and sympathy to Melissa Stanford, whose husband, Carrie Stroop, passed away on Friday, April 19th, due to a glioblastoma of the brain, which had suddenly been diagnosed just last December. Carrie left this world surrounded by a loving and devoted family. Calls and cards are welcome. A memorial service will be held here in June. And we also offer our sympathy to Laura Hartman, whose coworker Cheryl passed away this week. All of our sympathies. Let us hold all of these spoken as well as those unspoken joys and sorrows in our hearts together. I invite you to join me in a time of meditation, of contemplation, from these words by my colleague Lynn Cox. Creative Spirit, source of life and love, we give thanks for the beauty of this day, for the company of those assembled here. Thank you for the breezes of change, clearing our heads and bringing fresh ideas. May they cleanse our minds of the oppressions and isms that divide us. Thank you for the flame of hope, the heat of righteous anger, the warmth of compassion, and the fire of commitment. May they bubble the cauldrons of transformation. Thank you for oceans of love, rivers of connection, tears of relief, and pools of serenity. May healing waters flow over us and through us and among us, wearing down the sharp rocks of despair to bring joy in the morning. Thank you for the good earth beneath us, around us, within us. May we take this clay and co-create a new realm of justice and beauty. Thank you for all these and more. We accept our gifts and commit to building, sculpting, painting, singing, and dancing them to life, to abundant life. So be it. Blessed be. Amen.
The wisdom of the great Chief Seattle reminds us all things are connected. Whatever befalls the earth befalls the children of the earth.
All things share the same breath, the beast, the tree, the human. The air shares the spirit with all the life it supports.
We did not weave the web of life. We are merely a strand in it. This we know.
To you by your parents, it was loaned to you by your children. We do not inherit the earth from our ancestors, we borrow it from our children.
after the last tree has been cut down, only after the last river has been poisoned, only after the last fish has been caught, only then will we find money cannot be eaten.
Minister Shannon and I are going to be sharing a reading from Adrienne Marie Brown. A body is always a body, individual or collective, whole or in many pieces, alive or later dead. A body is always vulnerable. A wound is always a wound, singular and deep, or many cuts, slowly, blood everywhere, left untreated, unstaunched, denied. A wound will always fester. The first wound happens within the violence of birth, the expulsion from the illusion of safety, from the idea that someone else will do all the labor.
And some of us keep looking everywhere for placenta, for mothering, for acceptance of our worst choices, to be told we are so special, to be named a favorite child. Some of us learn to work. We are given tools, lectures, practices. We are given the blessing of knowing that work to nourish the collective is a sacred path for our lives.
Some are only taught to eat, given the title to land that isn't ours, judged for the speck of dirt under our nails, set to race against even our own kin for the never-ending victory of more.
Some of us are Black, still nauseous from the boat's hold, still catching our breath from snapped ropes, still oiling our calloused field hands, and still wounded.
Some of us are white, still synonymous with impossible purity, still given no songs from the earth, still taught to master nothing but superiority, and still wounded. Some of us are red, yellow, brown, still made to feel tertiary to the plot, still dismissed for all we remember, still claiming we are human, not terrorist, and still wounded. Some of us are never surprised, never apoplectic when the stench hits us. What rots at the core is known, documented. It's tangible, moral, American, spiritual. It is the founding wound, gray only at the surface, brittle black where the injury began, a rainbow of bruising everywhere, green mold making life in dying flesh, but the pus bursts white. We are well past the age of turning inwards, of seeing the open wounds on our souls, of stepping into our shadows with truth, light of seeing we were shaped and can change, of believing the wound is who we are. We know the smell of decay on breath. We see the swollen, cracking flesh of infection. It is not rude to acknowledge the stink, to wonder if it is viral, venom, survivable, to look for the laceration.
Things are not getting worse. They're getting uncovered. We must hold each other tight and continue to pull back the veil, see? We, the body, we are the wounded place. We live on a resilient earth where change is the only constant, in bodies whose only true whiteness is the blood cell that fights infection.
And the bone that holds the marrow, remove the shrapnel, clean the wounds, relinquish inflammation. Let the chaos calm the body, knows how to scab like lava stone, eventually leaving the smooth, marring scars of lessons learned. Denial will not disappear a wound.
The wound is not the body. Let us finally attend to the wound.
Let us finally name the violence. Let us finally break this cycle of supremacy.
Let us finally name the violence. Let us finally break the cycle of supremacy. Let us finally choose ourselves whole. Let us finally love ourselves whole.
Please remain seated and join us in singing our meditative hymn, Wo Ya Ya, number 1020 in your teal hymnal.
We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know within, and we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. It will be hard, we know, and the road will be muddy and rough, but we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Oh ya ya, oh ya ya, oh ya ya, oh ya ya. We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know within, and we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Oh ya ya, oh ya ya, oh ya ya, oh ya ya, oh ya 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 ya, oh wa wa we ya ya, oh wa ya we ya ya, oh ya 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 ya.
For a child born in the 70s, there were few joys that compared to opening a brand new box of crayons. Lifting the lid revealed a range of colors with which I could create kingdoms and whimsical things children once dreamed about. I loved to smell the wax. It never lost its scent as I dragged each primary color across the paper, touching harder in some places to create intensity, and lighter in others to feather the color so lightly it almost disappeared. Initially, my boxes of crayons consisted of 8 colors: yellow, blue, green, brown, orange, black, red, and violet. I'm sure this is familiar to you. I felt as though no other colors existed as I feverishly mixed pairs to create new hues to paint my world. I was very young. Therefore, it was hard for me to imagine beyond the colors I was given by my kindergarten teacher. I was content with the 8 colors I could multiply exponentially. At that time, I must add, there were additional Crayola colors available, but my teacher limited me to 8. And with those 8, I was to create my world. Sunday school crayons were quite the same. However, in addition to the familiar 8, I was introduced to a Crayola crayon named Flesh, used to color the skin of Jesus. Every Sunday school I visited seemed to have that flesh crayon on deck, and it was not limited to Jesus. Now that I think of it, Moses needed flesh skin too, as did Mary, all 12 disciples, and even Noah. Now that I think of it, every Bible character had flesh skin except for the devil, who, of course, was red. The flesh color, in case you don't know, was close to a pale peach that mostly matched the skin of my Sunday school classmates, but lacked something when it was placed against my own skin, I never challenged my teacher's request. I made sure to lightly press the crayon into the paper to color my Jesus, who stared back from the coloring page like a man with an artificial tan. Fast forward to the 80s, when the box of crayons expanded to include 64 color varieties that offered what I felt were man-made colors. I mean, how in the world could one fathom the existence of 64 different colors that have not yet mixed? The color possibilities felt endless. Back then, I could trade in my red for a burnt umber when coloring a picture of a fire station, then colored the trucks with fire engine red instead of the basic red in my box of 8, and as a creative child who later grew to be a creative teen, the vast array of colors that existed outside of the Roy G. Biv of the rainbow fascinated me. There's something to be said about the wonder and imagination of a childlike innocence that causes us as children to accept more than what's been offered. No questions, no doubts, no prejudice, just acceptance. Not knowing there could be more, so much more. That's supposed to change when we grow up. However, by the time we reach adulthood, we should be very clear that even 64 colors are not enough to represent the 18 decillion colors scientists have found to exist. Yes, 18 decillion. If we know that many colors can exist on one planet, perhaps there are 18 decillion other things that exist, but we never knew because we'd only been given the box of 8 as children. What if our church was a box of crayons? What if our church was a box of crayons? Would we be a box of 8, or a box of 64, or a box of flesh crayons kept close by to teach people from only one perspective? Does our church reflect all the cultures of the community in which we worship? This year has been a year of change and transformation, of letting go of the old to ring in the new, of accepting a new way of being. We've been given the opportunity to be different. Now, to reimagine our church community to include all those beautiful crayons to create a new narrative of radical love. It's not necessarily an easy thing to do. We've been conditioned by our life experiences to see things in a monochromatic way. If the culture in which you were reared is a green crayon, most likely you've lived among other green crayons. So a box of green crayons feels comfortable, it feels familiar. Everything that you see and that you do and think is influenced by green lived experience. But what happens when a chartreuse crayon is placed in your box? You might ask yourself, what the heck is that doing here? Or you might even find that you're feeling threatened in some way because you've never been around chartreuse. How do you relate to the chartreuse crayon when all that you've known is green? It's time for our churches to get to know the culture of chartreuse, the cultures of the pinks and reds, the cultures of orange and indigo. The time has come for us to look beyond that which we've known and learn something new. We just need to open our box and be willing to be radically inclusive of those who look differently than us or even worship differently than us, looking past our quote-unquote culture and experience. Christine E. Gudorf, she's the author of a book titled Comparative Religious Ethics, Everyday Decisions for Our Everyday Lives. In her book, she says, just as we use our knowledge of color, learned in one part of our world to describe colors in another part of our world, our minds use prior knowledge of facial expressions and body language to understand new communities of humans. But since people and cultures can differ a great deal, sometimes using our prior knowledge causes us to misunderstand the new culture. So we'll need to be intentional in creating space for our community siblings, because as humans, it is customary for us to be, as Christine also says, limited to the experiences of our own. We take it as the norm, though in some areas our own may be the most idiosyncratic and not typical at all. Guess what? We, here at First UU, are a chartreuse crayon to someone else's green. As we navigate the coming months and holidays, I invite you to reimagine all cultural significance, including the traditions practiced by our neighboring communities. This morning, I'd like to use the example of Kwanzaa, a holiday created by a Black American named Malana Karenga and first celebrated in 1966. It begins December 26th and ends on January 1st. It speaks to 7 African principles that seek to strengthen community. The word Kwanzaa, by the way, is derived from the Swahili phrase matunda ya Kwanzaa, meaning the first fruits of the harvest. The 7 principles of Kwanzaa are: day 1, umoja, which means unity. This is a striving for and maintaining of unity in the family, the community, the nation, the race. Day 2 is kujichagulia, or self-determination. On this day, we learn to define and name ourselves as well as to create and speak for ourselves. Day 3, ujima, or collective work and responsibility. This is the day where we work to build and maintain our community together and make our siblings' problems our problems and to solve them together. Day 4 is ujama, or cooperative economics, to build and maintain our stores and shops and other businesses to profit from them together. Day 5, nia, which is purpose, to make our collective vocation the building and developing of our community in order to restore our people to their traditional greatness. And then we come to day 6, which is kuumba, or creativity. On this day, we learn to always do as much as we can, in the ways we can, in order to leave our community more beautiful and beneficial than when we inherited it. And the final day, on January 1st, we celebrate Imani, or faith. To believe with all our hearts in our people, our parents, our teachers, our leaders, and the righteousness and victory of the struggle, our struggle. Kwanzaa speaks to the tenets of creating a beloved community. First UU has the opportunity to stand together and vote for the 8th principle, to sow the seeds of radical diversity, to dismantle racism so that we may reap the matunda ya Kwanzaa, the first fruits of the harvest that will dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and institutions. Remember the box of crayons? Let us move forward to color our world, starting with our siblings in this community, and learn a new way of loving in the process, a more colorful way of loving. Please rise in body or in spirit to sing Siya Hamba. It's number 1030. The words are located on the screen and in the teal hymnal. Thank you.
Before we sing Siyahamba, I've been asked to just go over the pronunciation as I've been taught it. So repeat after me. Siyahamba, Ekukanyen, Cuencos. And when you sing it, usually 2 of the syllables kind of go together. So Siyahamba, Kukanyen, Cuencos. So I think eventually we'll get to that verse. Okay, great. So we'll start in English then. All right. We are marching in the light of love. 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 We are marching. Ooh, we are marching in the light of love. We are marching. Singing in the light of love. We are 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 singing. Ooh, we are singing in the light of love. We are singing. Singing in the light of love. We are dancing 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 in the light of love. We are dancing. Ooh, we are dancing in the light of love. We are dancing. Ooh, we are dancing in the light of love. Sia hamba kukanyen kwen kos. 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 Sia hamba. Sia hamba kukanyen kwen kos. Sia hamba. Sia hamba kukanyen kwen kos.
Thank you for giving me the proper pronunciation. I appreciate that. I've been singing it wrong for a while. In the prism of existence, where light bends and scatters, we find the tapestry of love woven in the colors of the rainbow, each hue a testament to the diverse facets of affection, from the passionate red to the serene violet. We are on a journey where we'll unravel the profound symbolism of these colors and the decillion others, tracing their connection to the boundless spectrum of love we are tasked to give this world. Today's benediction is a poem titled The Rainbow of Love by Anil Kumar Panda. May we see through the rainbow that arches as a bow against the sky, that lets horizons meet at its ends, that holds colors to regale passersby. The rainbow we see in dreams, under its arch may we live as a team. Vibrant colors of skin and faith and festivals, staying united along its rim. The colors appear after a soothing rain of love, of sunshine, of care, when hearts and minds unite and earth glows with everlasting fanfare. May we live with this rainbow, that in its wide span gives shelter to all those who wish to fly high and to bathe in colors of love. And now let us extinguish our chalice together. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of vision. As we go forth, let us heal and transform ourselves and our world through reason and love.